Thanks for the confirmation. So I hope everyone were available now. So it's good to start. So basically, from today onwards, we'll be discussing more about the technical, and I would like to start from the scratch, as we know that most of the people here are very new to the database side. So the first thing we need to understand is what is a SQL server, or what a server is. In general, if I have to make it easy for you to understand, I can say it is a machine. The server is nothing but a machine. It's a desktop machine. But coming to the SQL Server, or the place where we host the databases or the production data or the company's data, we call it as a server. And we have a different operating systems for the servers when compared to our personal used machines. So the operating system we have for the servers is something like Windows 2003, 2008, 2008 R2, 2012 and 2012 R2. And we better know that we have other operating systems that can be used for our personal machines is Windows 7 or Windows 10 or Windows 8. So basically what a SQL Server? SQL Server is a relational database management system. When I say relational database management system, it's nothing but the tables inside the databases will have a relation to each other. So assume I have a database called shopping, and my shopping website does hold the information about all the customers and also the orders and also the products. So the customers, orders and products, these three are separate tables in the database, but still they have relations between each other. It is required to identify, in case if you want to find out uh, maybe the David, assume is a customer, you want to identify, okay, at what date and at what time David has ordered the product. So in that case, as the tables are interrelated to each other, you can get the information of the customer from customer table, and you can map the data to the products and the orders table, and that way you can get out the results. So it's something like a relational database management system. On the other side, if it is not a relational database management system, what would be the case? It's something like the files on your local system, maybe the notepad files. If you keep the three notepad files, one for customer, one for product and one for orders, and if I ask you to get the details of a customer, David, of his orders and what product he opted for. So in that case, as those three files are not doesn't have any relationships between each other, so the first thing, we need to open the first notepad for the product and we need to get the information of the customer or customer ID, then go on to the second file and search for the products with that customer ID, and also the same for the products. So it's a bit very complicated with the file system. So to overcome all these cases, we'll be using the SQL Server. And the other best example is, let's say I have a flat file. I mean to say a CSV file or a notepad file which is of 5 GB. So can you imagine that 5 GB file can be opened in a prescribed time? If you try to open a 5 GB notepad file, it gonna hang up your machine. So how do you manage the data in that size of file? So it's a bit very complicated to manage the data. So to overcome all these things, we can have a SQL Server relational database management system wherein it's not just a 5 GB. You can maintain 5 TB of database and you can easily access the data from those tables. And the second point is, as a database, it is a software product from Microsoft and whose primary function is to store and retrieve data as requested by other software applications. So the prime objective of this SQL Server is to store and retrieve the data as per the user requirement. An example is if you log on to Amazon website or eBay, and if you would like to purchase any phone, maybe iPhone. So what we do is once we click on the product, it actually gets you the inner details of that product, maybe the features or the shipping items or the rate or the store location, everything. So that information is something like it is pulling data from the backend database. So the prime objective of this software is to store and retrieve the data as per the front-end applications or user queries. And there are many different editions of Microsoft SQL Server aimed at different audience. So in market, we have small scale industries, medium and large scale industries. So considering these three scenarios, Microsoft has released different editions to aim different people. Maybe I'm an individual and I would like to open a small company. So in that case, I can't afford to buy a license as like a very multi-million or multinational company. I can't afford to pay that much amount to get a license. So considering this, Microsoft has got different editions for different type of scenarios. If you have got a small scale industries, you can opt a different edition which will cost you less. Or if your organization is very huge and you want to use all the benefits and the features of the versions, then you can go for a enterprise edition which will give you more features and enhancements. And the last is its primary language is T-SQL. So the coding can be done using Transact SQL scripting. It's structured query language. The abbreviation for the SQL is structured query language. So you can use T-SQL queries to talk to the databases. And coming to the versions. So before going on to the versions, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please just ping on the link. Guys, when I ask something, maybe I'm expecting answer from everyone so that I feel you are okay with the content so that I can move forward. Yep, thank you. So the next is the SQL versions. What are the discussions we are doing today? It's not exactly or completely required for you to remember everything. It is just for our information. Before we go into deep about any software, it is always required to understand the history, when the software was invented, and what are the latest versions we have in the market. That will give the other person an impression that you are up to date and you know well about that software. So the same thing have placed it here, the SQL versions. And the SQL version started with the Microsoft has released the first SQL version with 6.5. And the first column, it gives you the release year, in which year the version has released, and the second is a version number, and the third column is the release name, what name the Microsoft has given to that software. And the last one is the compatibility level, which is very much about the SQL technology. So in 1996, the first version, it's SQL Server 6.5 been released, and the compatibility level is 65. So it's pretty much easy. If you remember a single column saying that SQL Server 6.5, then the compatibility level is 65. And for in the year of 1998, they have released 7.0 and the version is 70, and the same for 2003, 2005 and 2008. So you can just ignore about the 6.5, 7.0, 2000 and 2005, because I don't think any of the organizations are using these outdated versions. Microsoft already announced that they have stopped support for the SQL 2005, and I heard like for 2008 as well. So we need to majorly going to discuss about the last three versions, that is 2008 R2 and 2012, and the new version is 2014. So I will be more concentrating on SQL 2012. That is what majority of the organization servers are in. So in 2010, the SQL Server 2008 R2 release was happened, and the compatibility level is 100. And for SQL 2012, it was in 2012 year, and the compatibility level is 110. And the same for in the year of 2014, Microsoft has released SQL version 2014, and the compatibility level is 120. So we need to be familiar about the compatibility levels, because once you are familiar or once you hit the flow of any organization, we will not have on any server will not notice saying this is a SQL 2008 or this is SQL 2012 or 2014. Everything will be mentioned with the version numbers. So if you connect to any SQL, it doesn't say okay I'm 2012 or I'm 2014. It just says I'm 11.0 or I'm 12.0. So we should be in a position to map, okay, saying that if 12.0 is, then it is SQL 2014, and if 11.0 version, it is SQL 2012. That makes you feel to be more confident on this software. So can I go to the next slide? Yep. The next thing we're going to discuss about the editions. Having said that, this is only to be aware of the things. It is not much required for interview purpose as well. You don't need to remember everything. This is for just for an history awareness. Coming to the additions, having said that, to aim a different audience, Microsoft has different editions for each of the versions. In SQL 2012, we have 4 to 5 editions, and in SQL 2014 the same, we have 4 to 5 editions. And each edition cost at a different year. So each edition has its own features, and based upon that features, the rate will be placed. So Microsoft offers SQL servers in editions like Standard, Business Intelligence, and Enterprise editions. These are the main editions. We do have other editions, but I'm just concentrating on the main ones. So the Standard and BI are most suitable for medium-sized organization, and the Enterprise edition is more suitable for the large organization. What makes it different? What makes an Enterprise edition or what makes a Standard edition? It's nothing but the features. The Enterprise edition is a supreme edition. It does got all the features that Microsoft has released. But for the Standard, if you are using a Standard edition, then you have some restrictions. You can't use all the features. So that is where the difference appear. So if you don't want to use all the features, then just go for a Standard edition instead of paying extra money for the Enterprise. So the standard edition offers basic database reporting and analytic capabilities. So it gives you the basic features wherein you can manage the database, where you can perform the reporting and do some analysis on the databases. And the per core license, it is an approximate figure. Maybe this could not be the right one. The per core license is $1793. So the license, if you want to buy for the standard edition, this is what the organization has to pay for the Microsoft. And we have two different types of licenses. If you want to opt a SQL, the one way is purchase per core license. If your server has got 4 cores, then you have to buy 4 licenses. And the other mode is, it would be CAL, customer access. A core is nothing but a CPU. If you have got 4 CPUs on a server, then you have to buy 4 licenses for that server. And the other mode is, it depends upon the customers. If 100 customers are accessing the server, then you have to buy 100 licenses. So organization will go appropriately. If they are much more convenient with the customer licenses, then they will buy it for that way. And if they want to make it easy to buy a license at CPU level or core level, they will buy it at core level. And the next is a business intelligence edition. So business intelligence edition is mainly used to perform ETL processes. When I say ETL, it is extraction, transformation, loading. It's something like you want to load data from flat files or from Excel files onto the SQL tables, and you want to do some analysis and generate the reports for the management. So it's nothing but a data mining that can be done with the business intelligence edition, and it is mostly recommended for the BI applications, the business intelligence, for SSIS and SSAS. And the final is the enterprise edition. Having said that, the enterprise is a supreme edition. It does got all the features, whatever the features that are with standard edition, business intelligence edition, plus an extra features will be available in enterprise edition. And probably enterprise edition can be recommended for production servers. For critical production servers, people will use enterprise edition. And you can see the license cost is around 6874 per core, that is per CPU. So you can easily identify the license cost between the standard edition and the enterprise edition. Enterprise edition is approximately 5 times more than the license of the standard edition. So that is the reason we always be cautious when we install the editions on our server. If it is really required, you want to have all the features on the server, then only go for enterprise edition, or else stick with the standard edition. And the next edition is the Express edition. Express edition is a free edition. Express edition is a trial version edition that we can download from Microsoft. Maybe once we complete today's session, I will forward you the few links from where you can download this Express edition, which is a free of cost. As it is a trial period, we can work on it until 180 days from the day of the installation. So approximately it will be available for 6 months of the time. And the next is the Developer Edition. Developer Edition contains all the features of Enterprise Edition for use in non-production environment. Developer Edition does contain similar features like the Enterprise Edition, and the edition may cost around $50 per license. Now you may get a question that When Developer Edition has got all the features of Enterprise Edition, then why should I pay more for Enterprise? I can still stick with the Developer Edition, wherein I can get the license with $50. The answer is, I'm stressing the word on the second line. On the first line it says Enterprise Edition, contains all the features of Enterprise Edition for use in non-production environment. If you are buying a Developer Edition from Microsoft, you need to use that Developer Edition in non-production servers, that is on your development server. You are not supposed to install Developer Edition on production servers. That is the legal agreement the organizations will have with Microsoft. So any questions with the editions? So a suggestion to you is, once you start working, possibly we need to alert when we get a request from any application team asking us to build any server. We need to first check whether they are okay with the standard edition or they do really require an enterprise edition. I've got a question from Mani. What edition does most companies use? The answer is, it depends. If an organization is a very well established, if you take an example of a Verizon or Amazon, these companies are multinational companies and large scale industries, and even that big companies, assume they have around 1,000 servers. Among those 1,000 servers, possibly 100 servers are more critical, and they want to use all the features that are in Enterprise Edition. Then obviously they will go with the Enterprise Edition for those 100 servers. And for remaining 900 servers, they are not using the enterprise features. So in that case, unnecessarily they don't spend extra money by installing the Enterprise Edition without using those features. So they just have a standard edition on those servers. So it actually depends upon the requirement. An example I can say is, in standard edition, let's say I have 10 points, the 10 features. And in Enterprise Edition, I have 20 features. So if I'm going to build a SQL server and my requirement is to have a 15 features, so in that case, obviously, I need to go for a Enterprise Edition. And on the other side, if the requirement is to have the just 5 features which I can find it in a standard edition, then I can stick with the standard edition. And I can share you a link which will give you more information about what the features, what all the features we have got in each individual edition. Does it make sense, Mani? The next thing is, we'll discuss about the hot fixes and the service packs, because this would be the one of our, I don't say it's day-to-day activities, but maybe probably once in a month or once in a quarter we used to work on this. The hot fix, as it names, it is a fix for a bug. When a Microsoft releases any SQL version, and when it releases the versions to the market, so once we as a DBAs start using for our servers, at some point we might face some errors or issues. So obviously what we do in real time is, when we encounter any issues that are very new to us, so we try to take help of Google. we try to take help of the experts who are in the forums. So even if you don't find any assistance from the forums and the people in the forums are also not aware about that error, we can always go back to the Microsoft and we can raise a ticket with them. This can be done if you have a valid license. So once we raise a ticket with Microsoft team, they do find if they have any solution for that issue. And if it is very new for them as well, then they treat it as a bug and they take some time to work on that bug and they come up with the solution maybe after a week or two. And that bug fix, we call it as a hot fix, will be published in MSDN websites, the Microsoft websites. It is because maybe after a week, the other company might encounter the same error, and instead they go back to the Microsoft and raise a request. They can directly log on to the Microsoft website and download that hotfix and apply it. It's nothing but a solution to a issue. That's it. The hotfix is nothing but a solution or a fix or a solution for any error or any issue. And the next is a cumulative update. So if these hotfixes are regularly created by the Microsoft, then at point it would be very huge for an individual to download and apply all those fixes. So to avoid all this mess up, Microsoft what it does is for every regular interval, probably I can give an example as a 2 months. In the span of 2 months, let's say from March 1st to April 31st or 30th April. So in the span of 2 months, maybe Microsoft has released around 13 or 15 hotfixes. So what they do is they club all those hotfixes and create one file and they release that file to the market. So that is called a cumulative update. So how it makes easy is maybe on May 1st week, if I'm building a server, then instead of applying each and every individual hotfixes, what I can do is I can directly download the hotfix, which internally contains all those 13 or 15 hotfixes. I can just run one file and all the hotfixes will be applied onto my instance. And we have hotfixes. There is a limit in the hotfixes. The Microsoft releases the hotfixes starting with CU1 up to CU13. So still there is a limit. Microsoft can't go on releasing the cumulative updates with hundreds. So they have kept their limit up to 13. Once the number or once the count reaches CU13, they think of binding it all the cumulative 13 updates. They will group all the 13 cumulative updates into one pack, and that is called as a service pack. So service pack is nothing but the collection of cumulative updates. So instead of you going and applying the individual service packs, you can directly apply the latest service pack. That does include all the cumulative updates and all the hotfixes. So the point would be, if you are installing any SQL Server at the moment, you need to install the base version, either it is a SQL 2012 or 2008 or 2 or 2014. Once you install the base version, it is recommended to apply the latest service pack. If we have service packs SP1, SP2 and SP3 available for 2012, assume at the moment Microsoft has got SP1, SP2 and SP3 available in the market. And if I'm going to install a SQL 2012, then once I install a base version, I directly apply the service pack 3. I don't need to apply service pack 1, then 2, then 3. It's not required. The service pack 3 contains the information of service pack 1 plus service pack 2. So you can always go to the latest one. So this is all about the service packs, cumulative updates and hotfixes. And as a DBA duty, we have to apply the service packs regularly. We need to make ourselves aware that what are the latest service packs available in the market. So based upon that, taking some downtime or maybe on weekend agreed time, we need to install those service packs. And again, it has to be done on the UAT servers first. And if everyone is happy with the service packs, maybe one the testing team and everyone signs off, then probably we'll go for a production patching. The patching, what the term we use, the patching is nothing but the applying the service packs on SQL Server. So any questions on this page? Probably in our next classes, maybe after a week or two, we'll discuss more about how to apply the service packs on a server. But now it should be good if you understand what a service pack is or what a cumulative update is. And next we'll talk about the environments. Usually we'll have a different environments in our organization, so it's better to understand what they are. The first we'll talk about the production environment or a production server. So this type of server, the production server, so this type of server is used to deploy and host live websites. When I say production server or live server, both are same. Production server or live server will host the data that is being currently used by the customers. So if you take an example of any banking website where you do some online transactions, or if you can take off shopping website, Amazon or somewhere where we try to place an order, those websites are live websites. So the backend database is connected to a production server, which is a live ongoing data. And that is how I said for production server, we'll be having enterprise edition. And again, it is required based upon the requirement, the features. And the next is a UAT server. The abbreviation is user acceptance server. So better I can go from bottom to up so that it will be clear. So better I would first talk about the development server. Assume we got a requirement to develop a project. So from where it starts. So initially the project will start from the development. So when the project is in design phase, we use a development server and we provide all the permissions to the developers who write the codes, who design the scripts. So as they have all the permissions on the development server, they write the front-end applications, and as a DBA, we create a backend database server for them. And once they are ready with the scripts and schemas for the project on the development server, that deployment or that package will be pushed onto the UAT server, which is a user acceptance server. So on UAT server, we DBAs deploy the packages or deploy the scripts, and once the deployment being done, then obviously we will have a testing team in our organization. So they hit this UAT server and they do some testing on this server, and once they are happy with all the testing, they sign off. Once the sign off being done, the same package or release scripts will be applied onto the production server only by DBAs. Only DBAs will have permissions on production server. None other will have permissions. Even your manager, your CIO, or anyone in the top of the company, they doesn't have permission on production server. It is only the DBA. There's a reason I said in last class we play very important role in any organization. Live data will be managed by the DBAs. And the last one is a DR server. It's a disaster recovery server. It has to be created for any organization. It is because we can't rely on one server. For any production data or for any organizations to perform their business, they can't rely on one server. It is because if that server goes down for any reason, due to some hardware issue or software issue, then that particular organization will going to lose their business completely. So just to be at safe side, we will create a disaster recovery plan, keeping in mind that if my primary production server goes down for some reason, how should I make the business up and running with a minimum time, with minimum downtime? So we do have many topologies available in SQL Server that can create the disaster recovery plan. Going forward, we'll learn about the high availabilities. We have some high availability concepts in SQL Server. There's a techniques available. So based upon those techniques, what we do is we create a similar database server on the other geographical location. I can give an example. Let's say Amazon shopping website, their production server is located in New York data center, and all the front end, whatever we do on front end Amazon website, either shopping or placing an order, everything will be hit to the backend New York server. And unfortunately, if there is any disaster happens in New York City, and if the power outage is there, then as a front-end user, I couldn't access the data. I couldn't load the page of that Amazon site. And if Amazon doesn't have a plan in upfront for having a disaster recovery, then it would be a very huge loss for that company. If it takes around 1 day to rectify the issue and to bring up the New York server up, so those 1 day data or the 1 day business loss will be applied to that company. So in that 1 day mean time, as an end user, what I do is if the Amazon website is not loading for 1 or 2 minutes, obviously I will go for other shopping website. So that will kill up the benefits and the business for the any organization. So to avoid all these cases, what we do is while we have our main server working in the main city New York, we try to create a copy of that server and place it in a different geographical location, possibly in Europe. So we have a topologist, don't worry about that. We have techniques to do that. So how it would be is like whatever the data you update on your production server and whatever the data that is coming onto the New York server, that will automatically replicated or mirrored onto the server which is in Europe. So the Europe server is almost identical as your New York server. So in this case, if the New York server goes down, you still have a server with up-to-date data in Europe, which you can bring it online and divert all your users to that database. So this is the main advantage of having a DR. I see a question from Mani. So does the DR is linked somehow to the production server so that the change we make in primary server or automatically updated in DR? I hope it's DS is DR. Yes, Mani. The main intention is to keep our DR server identical as our main server. So that is how. still there is a possibility of having a data loss, but still you are in a good position to run your business. And like I want to know, is the process automated or the admin have manually updated here every now and then? No. We have, that's what I'm saying, we have some high availability techniques in SQL Server. So we just need, as a DBA, we need to configure them, that's it. We need to configure them, the techniques on the server or on the database that will automatically replicate or mirror the data across all your servers. We don't do anything manually on this. So any more questions at this point? Even the shopping websites for Amazon, they do have a production website which can be viewed by us, and as a hidden to us, they do have a UAT websites and dev websites. So if they want to have, they want to get a change on any website, or they want to place a new product on their website, or they want to change the design of the web page, maybe usually we see at Christmas times they will display about the offers and deals. So no company will directly do changes on productions. So what they do is they initially do the changes on the development server, and once it appears to be okay, then they push on to the UAT server, and in the UAT server the testers will test each and every the bit and pieces on that web page, and if they are happy with that performance and the working scenarios, then they will push it onto the production. And that is how when we see on a live pages. So that's it from my side for today. So have you got any questions? And having said that, I will send out you a few links so that you can download the files and keep it ready so that we can start the SQL installation from tomorrow's class. And I want everyone to download the file and keep it ready so that everyone, while I do here, you can perform the installation at your machine, at your side as well. And one more thing is probably I already have a SQL instances running on my machine. So the best part I think is I would be doing the SQL installation on one of your machine. You can just share your screen with me. I will guide you and everyone can notice that one. Does that make sense? Okay guys, that's great to hear. So I will send out you the URLs to download the file. So please do remember to download them and keep it ready. And we try to install them in our next class. Okay guys, if you don't have any questions, I would like to wind up the call for now, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys. And one more thing before we leave, having said that, I'm recording the sessions, so probably I will upload the sessions onto a Google Drive, and from there I will share you with you all. And I hope I have all of your email IDs with me. So if anyone miss the link, so please let me know in next class. I will ensure you are a part of it. Thank you guys. I'm closing the call now. Bye.